Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of Forbes Marshall, I'd like to welcome you all and thank you very much for joining us at this panel discussion on the opportunity to rebuild education post-pandemic through literacy. International Literacy Day is observed each year on the 8th of September, declared first by UNESCO in 1966. The key objective being to highlight the importance of literacy to individuals, communities, and societies. Literacy levels worldwide have really enhanced substantially since the late 60s, but we still have a very, very long way to go with our own continent, South Asia and Sub-Saharan Africa, continuing to have, unfortunately, the lowest literacy levels in the world. Critically and very alarmingly, there continues to be a clear connection between levels of illiteracy and countries with severe poverty and illiteracy and prejudice against women. Closer to home, India's literacy level is currently pegged at around 75 to 77%, but there continues to be much debate and discussion about this figure. As can be well imagined also, rural rates drop sharply in comparison to more urbanized parts of our country. Our panelists will touch on these issues and other relevant ones. I'm personally very excited to learn more about the Nipun Bharat mission and see how it evolves, as well as other interesting topics that will be delved into this afternoon. Thank you again for joining us, and over to you, Madhukar.
Thank you so much, Rati. Firstly, I just want to congratulate Forbes Marshall for also completing 75 years of contribution to the Indian manufacturing sector and also to the social sector, not just in Pune, but across India. And as Rati, as you mentioned, I think clearly a very, very highlighted day, 8th of September, World Literacy Day, we are celebrating. Current statistics are all staggering. Of course, we all know the issues that the Indian children are facing, specifically talking about literacy in the early years of our children. A lot to sort of worry about, pretty sort of worrying trends. Learning literacy has been an issue for the last couple of decades, but I think COVID in itself has aggravated the situation. But nothing is lost. We have a lot to be hopeful about. And one of those hopeful things which I wanted to start off this panel discussion is by inviting the keynote speaker, Saurabh Chopra. Saurabh is the project director at Central Square Foundation, currently working closely with several states and the government of India on FLN mission, which is the Nipun Bharat mission. And before we proceed into the wonderful eminent panelists, I wanted Saurabh to come in and just share his thoughts on the Nipun Bharat Abhiyan that is going to kickstart in the country, and also share his views on what are some of the steps that are taken by the government of India when it comes to promoting literacy. So over to you, Saurabh.
Thank you, Madhukar. Thanks so much, Rafi, and thanks for having me here. It's a pleasure for me to be here. I can talk about this for hours, possibly. I've been doing a lot of work over the last couple of years. But what I will do is I'll probably take about 10 minutes and run through a quick presentation. Let me just share my screen first. Yeah. Okay. I hope my screen's visible.
Yes.
So I want to talk about foundational literacy and numeracy, the Nipun Bharat mission, with a special focus on literacy and why is it so important. Like Rati said, we've made huge strides, right? We are a large school system, the world's largest school system, 250 million children going to school, more than 9 million teachers. Half the country, half of all households have at least one school going children, and there are 1.5 million schools, which is staggering, right? And we have made a lot of progress. If you look at independent India, when India got independent, we had about less than 15% people going to school at that time, and especially over the last 20-25 years, we've got almost universal basic schooling, which is a tremendous achievement for a country of our size. So we should be very proud of what we've achieved. And if our literacy levels are low, and literacy levels, 75% is, literacy has different connotations. If it's just writing your name, it's 75% might be okay. But if it's actually understanding written text and being able to transact, those are much lower. But I think the focus was always on access first and then quality, which was the right way to go. And I think now is the time when we are moving from access to quality. Just to talk about why we feel that the literacy levels are not great. If you look at the statistics here, this is both the government led National Achievement Survey and ASAR, which is done by Pratham. And I'll talk about more about the literacy part, which is that 73% students in India in grade 3 cannot read grade 2 text. And even the NAS says that that 33% students cannot understand reading comprehension in grade 3. So whether it's 33% or 73%, the number is staggering, right? I mean, most of our children do not attain basic reading skills at the end of grade 3, and grade 3 is a very, very important almost like an inflection point, right? Because till grade 3 you are learning to read, but after that you will read to learn. So if you don't learn to read, you cannot understand science, social science beyond grade 4, and then you actually drop out of schooling. So there is a study which says that India could lose more than 10 crore students who are in the schooling system because they're not reaching the right benchmark by grade 3. World Bank has a very interesting metric they've introduced, which is called learning poverty, which is that at the end of grade age 10, how many students can read basic text. And India, we are about 55% learning poverty, which means that 55% students in India cannot read at age 10. And of course, World Bank has stated objective of reducing this rate by half before 2030. It's not. I mean, even though 53% students in lower income and middle income will suffer from learning poverty, if you look at our neighbors like Sri Lanka or China, the number there is 15%. So there is a huge way for us to go, to reduce this number to half or even lower. And this is and we're not the first country to get on this mission, right? I mean, there have been various missions across different countries which have been launched and which have actually done very well. For example, in Kenya, Tusome was launched, which was done at a fairly large scale, which helped in improving literacy levels. Brazil had a very, very famous mission called Missão Gracias, which was that every child should be able to read and learn by the age of 8. We had South Africa, Philippines, even Peru. Peru, in fact, the president, himself took a stopwatch, and he would measure the reading speeds, and that went to every school. That every school would have a stopwatch, and they would measure the reading speed of children to make sure that they could read at a particular speed by the end of grade 3. And speed is very important, in terms of there's a lot of research which says that if children read below the speed of 30 words per minute, they are not having any comprehension, because you tend to forget if you read too slow. So many countries have done it, and I think now it is the time for India to actually start on this mission, which has just been launched, right? So maybe I'll take a couple of minutes to talk about the Nipun Bharat mission, which was launched by the Education Minister last month. And even the Honorable Prime Minister has talked about this mission a couple of times, saying that if our children go to school and they don't learn to read, then we're not moving forward at all. So the vision of the Nipun Bharat mission is to create an enabling environment to ensure universal acquisition of foundational literacy and numeracy, so that every child achieves the desired learning competencies in reading, writing, and numeracy by the end of grade 3 by 2026-27. So it's a very time-bound mission. It's a 5-year mission starting now, and it's got very defined learning outcomes, both for reading, writing, and numeracy, which children are expected to accomplish by the end of grade 3. There was a lot of obviously financial fiscal stress on the government. Given the COVID situation, a lot of money was allocated to health this year. In fact, overall budgets for education at the central level have gone down. But what's very heartening is that additional provision of about 2,700 crores has been made per year for this mission, and this money has already been allocated to the states. And this is substantial amount of money, given that this includes rupees 500 per child just for teaching and learning material. There are multiple levers to ensure universal adoption of literacy and numeracy, and these are we've got these from the best in the world who've done these programs at a large scale. Even in India, organizations like Pratham and LLF, they've done some reasonable scale programs. And now is the time to scale these across the country. And these are the most important elements. The most important being teaching and learning material, because kids don't have enough material to read from. There is just one book for all subjects. There should be sufficient amount of storybooks, manipulatives for maths, other kinds of reading material which students are able to use in their own language. That's critical. Students are one part of it. Second part is teachers, which it's a service delivery model, right? Teachers are at the end of the day delivering in the classroom. So teachers, there is money for two things. One is their capacity building, and second is more of a handbook for teachers, right? And this handbook is not very expensive, but when you multiply it with the number of teachers, it's a huge fiscal outlay. So this has been given for all teachers this year for the primary grades. There's also a provision for a project management unit at the state and the district levels, because it's very important that on a monthly basis, states track where they are going. So it's a 60-month kind of a mission. So we know where we are going. And we have money given to states for assessments, because they have to keep assessing periodically to see if the needle's moving or not. I think I'm almost out of time, but broadly, this is where we are. India has done really well in enrollment. It's time to move on to quality. In terms of quality, it's all about literacy, making sure students read. And this mission, which has been launched just last month, would be our aim to get into the league where we have less than 20% learning poverty in the next 5 years. The tagline for the Nipun Bharat mission is Nipun Bharat ka sapna, sab bacche samjhe bhasha aur kanna, that all children understand literacy and numeracy by the end of grade 3. Thank you so much, Madhukar.
Thank you so very much, Saurabh. I think really heartening to see all the efforts that have been taken, and we are also very, very happy to share that for Maharashtra. In fact, our organization Leadership for Equity is working very closely with Central Square Foundation to implement that mission in Maharashtra closely with SCRT and Samagra Shiksha Abhiyan. So going forward, I think with that context, what Saurabh has set around like literacy and what has been like at a policy level, how the push on literacy has been, I am very, very excited to sort of introduce the amazing, wonderful panelists that we have among us. I'm going to quickly introduce them before we sort of jump into the discussion. But I think broadly the objective of the panel is to what Rati shared, right, in terms of just getting diverse perspectives around literacy. How do we sort of promote literacy among children, especially given the state and condition where we are, and most likely before COVID and even during COVID, and the kind of challenges that teachers and school systems have been facing. So with that, the wonderful panelists for today, I'd like to introduce Mrs. Zakia Kurian, who spent close to 4 decades in education. She is the chair emeritus of Center for Learning Resources, which she has founded with Mr. Kurian, and she's been in the space in Maharashtra, especially with early childhood language and literacy, for a very long time. Thank you so much, Zakia ma'am, for joining us today. Then we have Dr. Kamala Devi Aute. She is the Deputy Director at SCRT Pune, and Aute madam, of course, has spent more than 20-25 years in education in the government space, bearing multiple sort of roles, more recently as a principal of DIET Pune, and now heading the language and equity department at SCRT, more specifically also looking into the FLN mission for Maharashtra. Dhanyavad ma'am, thank you. Aapne aaj join kiya hamare saath. Then third, we have Beena Joshi. Beena Joshi obviously spent more than 2 decades in health and education space in Pune. She is currently the head of CSR team at Forbes Marshall. And she started her career with Doorstep School for a very long time. So she's getting in the perspective of equity and inclusiveness for literacy, promoting literacy. Thank you so much, Beena, for being here. And then last, we have Nitin Kashyap, who is the senior product manager at Google, specifically looking into Google Bolo, which is now Google Read Along for most of us who've been using that app. Nitin has spent more than, again, 15 years in the corporate space, with more specifically with Adobe and McKinsey. Thank you so much, Nitin, for being here with us. So again, I think what we're going to do for all the audience that we have today joining us today is we're going to keep this panel discussion both in Hindi and in English, just for making sure we're keeping it interactive also. So I think whenever you think there is any question you have, if you want to interrupt any of the, do you have any burning thought question, please do use the chat feature. Sabko pata hai chat feature wahan pe hai, so please type in your question or comment or anything for us to keep this discussion engaging. So with that, I'm going to just start off and jump right into the panel discussion. So Zakir, I'm going to start off with you. I think Saurabh shared Nipun Bharat mission, and he shared some of the facets of it. Of course, foundational literacy numeracy has been there for a long time, right from 1986. Policy has stated, DPEP, many of them have mentioned about it. I think one of the most exciting thing about this mission is that perhaps this is the first time where the government is putting a stake and saying that these are the learning outcomes that we want to be held accountable towards. But just your initial reactions, Zakia ma'am, around what are some of the things that are sort of standing out in the Nipun Bharat Abhiyan, how it is linked to the National Education Policy 2020. So if you can start us off with that, it'd be great. Zakia, I'm sorry, you're on mute.
Right. Thanks for your introduction, and thank you to Ms. Rati Forbes, as well as the Forbes Marshall Foundation, who have organized this to give me the opportunity to interact today. Okay, so just to take off from what Madhukar has asked, I have actually read the 332 pages of the Nipun Bharat document, and it is many aspects of it are sort of music to one's ears if one has been working in this space for so long and has been right at the field level, etc., right? So just to say that there are so many very good and important things that are actually mentioned at every level, every administrative level, every right down to the classroom level, parents, community, the works, and the only thing is, of course, the target of 2026 to 27 will have to, of course, be reconsidered. I would imagine you would agree, because of the pandemic and the learning loss that has happened, and also that one, plunging into sort of trying to make up with actual classroom level when there's quite a lot of socio-emotional disruption and comfort that has to be given to children, etc., right? So to talk about how it aligns with the NEP, I think one of the very good ways in which it aligns is that it does talk about the continuum, the early childhood and up to early primary continuum, ages 3 to 9, okay? 2 years, 3 to 5, which is Anganwadis or preschools, 1 year of like the equivalent of a senior kindergarten or upper kindergarten, okay, which actually will become part of school education, which is called the Balvatika, and 3 years thereafter, classes 1, 2, and 3. Yes. So this aspect is, I feel, one of the, because foundational literacy cannot begin with class 1, because a lot of the cognitive and the underlying kind of abilities, which neuroscience now tells us should already be there, that is really from birth onwards. Now, the NEP talks about birth onwards, but Nipun Bharat does not talk about birth to 3 at all, okay? And as far as the first 2 years, 3 to 5, that is also somewhat vague as far as Nipun Bharat is concerned, okay? So here, I wonder whether you would give the opportunity, I don't know how you want to organize this in terms of different speakers, But what I would like to concentrate on would be that amidst all this very, very important initiative, and as I said, music to our ears, and I would say ditto to Saurabh, that I could also talk about it for hours and hours and so on. But if you would give the opportunity at some point, or however you want to structure it, that this is the time to talk about the risks. What are the risks, as far as achieving these wonderful targets? All the Lakshya, the learning targets, the numerical targets, and the actual reading with understanding targets, okay? So whether you want me to give a quick overview of that now or later after other people have waited.
I will come back to you, Zakia ma'am, but thank you so much for setting up that context. And in terms of the risks and what are some of the challenges that we face, especially when trying to implement a mission at this scale, I want to bring in Beena here. Beena, you've obviously spent a lot of time in communities with children, and we know the current challenges, right? Like because of COVID and some of the issues that have come up. What do you think are some of the challenges when it comes to, because literacy as an idea, it needs to be inclusive, right? Like we need to ensure that every child from different communities, different contexts, different languages are a part of this mission and promoting literacy. So what, in your sort of experience, what are some of 2 or 3 challenges, also linking it back to what Zakia ma'am was mentioning, what are some of the challenges that the mission might face in order to sort of implement at this scale?
Yeah, so I hope you can hear me.
Yes.
Yeah. So thanks a lot, Saurabh and Mrs. Kurian, for setting a very good context. So I'm going to start with a disclaimer saying I'm going to talk to you about voices from the field. So we have heard kind of what the central government wants to do, but now let us see what actually we experience on the field. And I think we cannot move ahead without considering the fact that the great setback we have had because of COVID. Because if you're looking at this from the mission point of view, I think the next 2 to 4 years, we are really going to struggle with issues related to access and equity within this space. What we are seeing in the field is there has been a tremendous shift as far as the medium of instruction, the choice parents are making. The huge amount of migration has actually led parents to shift the children from English medium to Marathi medium schools, from private mediums to government schools. So we can see that for literacy in the immediate future, the language of instruction itself may pose to be a very big challenge. We have got children from our own communities who have gone outside Pune, outside Maharashtra, because of the stress that has been released due loss of wages, loss of livelihood. Parents have gone back to their native places. So even if we just start with literacy, the biggest concern, immediate concern I see, which is definitely going to spill over the next, say, 5 to 8 years, is the language of the child. So these are unprecedented times. So this is a newer dimension, newer vulnerability within the scene. But as it is, we knew children had multiple vulnerabilities. One of it is the language spoken at home and the language of instruction in school. In spite of many things happening, I'm very sorry to say that the children from tribal pockets, from children speaking dialects at home, have not yet got assimilated within our primary schools. And I think a lot of lip service there, but we actually have to see a lot of things happening every day in the school. So I would say that is a very big challenge. The other challenge is the parental education. And we also see the direct impact during COVID times. Increasing digitalization has actually not helped all these people, all the children who are outside the periphery of the middle class, loss of wages again. And we are seeing that the gaps, the learning gaps are in fact increasing. So the learning loss as far as literacy is concerned and numeracy is going to become more pronounced. The third most important thing is we should have a multi-stakeholder partnership over here. We see a lot of things that are the teachers are expected to do, but I think we also need to bring in the community and parents, and their participation will be of utmost grave importance. Somehow we have been focusing a lot on teaching learning materials. I feel I may be limited in my knowledge, but teaching how to read itself also needs to be enhanced to a very great extent. And this will be related directly to the equity aspect also. I don't feel our teachers are equipped enough to actually understand how to teach children to read. And I think we have a long way to go in that. And more on this later when we come up, but I do feel increasing sense of ownership amongst the community is also one of the things that should be considered and not really depend only on the government. Given the COVID times, we need really hyper local solutions now.
Right. No, thanks so much, Beena. I'm going to come back to you on the whole communities and parents piece, because it's a very, very critical aspect given the school closures and the current situation. But what you interestingly obviously said is the quality and how do we promote reading. So I want to pull in Nitin here. Nitin, obviously the problem of India is not about, say, one child or 100 children. We're talking about millions of children. We're talking about multiple languages, literacy. The language acquisition itself is a different ball game altogether. Diverse languages, the diversity of context of India. But what we have also realized over the last couple of years, and especially in the last 18 months, is technology has a very critical role to play in this. Now, we would love to sort of understand from your perspective, because I think technology perspective just cannot be sort of avoided in any conversation. As you're heading the Google Bolo, now Google Read Along, what are you learning from the ground? Like for different states, what are you learning from the ground? What are some of the trends when it comes to literacy, learning, reading, improving reading for children?
Yeah, no, thank you for having me here as part of the panel as well, and that's sort of a very pertinent question. Maybe I can just give a quick sort of overview for who might everybody not be aware about Read Along, right? So it's a relatively new product from Google. We launched it in March 2019, but it is squarely positioned and was designed and conceptualized to help solve this problem, right? Of children not acquiring basic literacy, right? Foundational literacy. And so it is basically designed to help them learn to read, right? And the observation from where we also started here was that given how technology is evolving, given how the Android phone penetration is increasing, it's by no means complete, right? And that is also one of the lessons we are still learning, right? The adoption, there is a wide equity gap, but technology is a lever which gives us a fighting chance to really amplify everybody else's effort, right? And if I compare it to any other mission that we have had, say, in the past decades, I think this time around, what could be different is how could we use technology better, right? So Read Along is an app designed to help children learn to read. It's a very simple app. It is based on the same technology that Google uses for recognizing our speech when we talk to Google Assistant, for example. But in this case, we use the same technology to make it so that when a child reads any small story or interesting piece of story on the app, right, the phone tries to recognize what they are reading right or wrong and give them instant feedback, right? When they do it well, they are encouraged, and when they get stuck, they are helped, right? And obviously designing it for children, the whole game is designed, the whole app is designed as a game, as an engaging experience for children to learn to read, right? And again, adapting it to the sort of the challenges that we have, unique challenges that we have in India, right? It is designed such that it can work offline, right? Because we know we can't rely on data connectivity at all the time. It is designed so that it can work on even entry-level smartphones, right? You don't need to have very fancy hardware to do it. It is completely free and has hundreds of stories, and it is not only in English, it supports 8 Indic languages, and which includes Marathi, Tamil, Telugu, Urdu, Gujarati, and the likes, right? So it is designed for that. And it is designed for our parents who we know and children who we know are first generation learners, right? So in that sense, it does not require any Google sign-in or anything, right? And anybody can just download this app and start practicing to read with it, right? So since we launched, right? We have been always working very closely on the ground with lots of partners like Pratham, like Kaivalya Education Foundation, like yourself, like Saja, right? To really make sure that the app can be used by children who need it the most, right? And where we stand at the moment is that we have about 30 lakh children every month who use the app for 10 to 15 minutes every day to practice reading on it, right? And the beauty about sort of a little bit of how tech is kind of can be an important lever here, right, is that we can also track how are children improving, right, on an anonymous basis.
Yeah.
Because as they start reading, what is the speed they were reading at, and now where are they reading after, say, a certain amount of practice of reading in the app, right? So and again, so if from what we know, if I looked at only children who started engaging with the app and they were reading at, say, below 45 words per minute to begin with, now more than 500,000 or more than 5 lakh of them we can see in our data reading at a speed of greater than 45 words per minute, which is great improvement in actual impact, right? So well, that's some of the broad overview and sort of impact and kind of illustrates the role technology can play here when designed well. I think we have been greatly supported by working closely together with states who are really open to experimenting with this and including this in part of their regular programs. So UP was already working on a mission Prerna, right, which was sort of an example of a lot of the Nipun Bharat principles can be seen in their mission that they had started earlier on, right? And we have been working closely with them together with Central Square Foundation for a year and a half now. And there, as part of the communication that as part of the implementation of the program, messages, etc., were sent directly to the teachers, encouraging parents to install the app and have children practice on them, right? And many local missions were run with teachers in those communities as well. Like, for example, there was a period of time where it was like, Roz Sham ko 6 se 7 padho Diya ke saath. Diya is the mascot, Diya is the human version of our reading buddy in the app who gives children that feedback, right? So based on that, at the moment, the numbers are about more than half of those users are all from UP for us, right? And similarly, based on that, we have just kicked off partnerships with Gujarat and Telangana as well, right? So I think overall, from that point of view, I kind of completely second some of the thoughts and challenges that Zakia ma'am presented and as well. But the role of technology is important, especially when amplified with how can it work together with the system and how can we engage parents to really help use it in the best possible way. We did observe in some of the programs that we ran, and when we a lot of experiments we did, like working, say, with the library or working with a self sort of group community of parents who kind of lead it in their society, in their locality, right? When parents are involved, that is when the impact is definitely, usage and impact is maximum.
Right.
Let me pause there.
Awesome. Got it. No, thank you so much, Nitin, for giving and sharing that perspective. Talking about the system, I know system ke baare mein humne abhi shuru kiya hai, so I think we need to pull someone from the system to actually comment about it. So I have with me Dr. Kamala Devi Aute madam, जो I think SCRT के deputy director है, जैसे मैंने introduce किया था. तो मैम आपका ये सवाल है कि obviously सभी लोग शेयर कर रहे थे उनका perspective, but government का perspective जब लेके आए इसमें, तो निपुण भारत एक तो गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया सरकार ने ऑलरेडी डिक्लेयर कर चुका है, महाराष्ट्र भी इसको अडॉप्ट करने की अभी कोशिश में है, और काफी आई थिंक प्रोग्रेसिव पॉलिसी है जैसे लर्निंग में, और पिछले मतलब 5 साल से भी महाराष्ट्र सरकार ने भी बहुत सारे लर्निंग इंप्रूवमेंट प्रोग्राम्स के हैं. प्रगत शैक्षणिक महाराष्ट्र एक ऐसा था और जिसका रिजल्ट भी आया था, वो भी फाउंडेशन लर्निंग पे ही था, और उसका असर में भी काफी इंप्रूवमेंट हुआ है पिछले 6 सालों में महाराष्ट्र का. तो मैम निपुण भारत का महाराष्ट्र, बिकॉज आई थिंक एक तो हम सारे जितने भी लोग यहाँ पे पुणे महाराष्ट्र के ऑडियंस है, तो इसमें मैम आपको क्या लगता है कि किस तरीके से महाराष्ट्र सोच रहा है आगे बढ़ने का? SCRT ऑब्वियसली विल प्ले अ लीडिंग रोल, बट महाराष्ट्र का क्या सोच है फिलहाल निपुण भारत अभियान को आगे बढ़ाने का?
यस, थैंक यू मधुकर. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. Bilkul. Yes, you're audible.
Thank you for all. We are celebrating International Literacy Day. And first of all, I would like to give big thank you for organizer for celebrating this day and organizing this panel discussion on important issue and giving opportunity to interact with you all. And as Madhukar has asked about Maharashtra's initiative, Maharashtra is a very progressive state in about education and all things. We all know that. And as Madhukar say about PSM, Pragati Shaikshanik Maharashtra, that of one GR, which is I think that one of most important milestone in the Maharashtra's education history. For that, we all are very thankful for Honorable Nandakumar sir for giving insight for this. Most important output of this GR, that our system came to know that every child can learn. I thought that this was most important output of this GR. As International Literacy Day, we are also celebrating 75 years of Independence Day. Azadi ka Amrut Mahotsav bhi hum mana rahe hain, but still we are fighting against with literacy, foundational literacy and numeracy. This is fact. Though government is implementing so many important initiatives for this, but still we are not reaching up to 100% children. This is fact. About Nipun Bharat, under the guidance of our Honorable SS Ma'am, Vandana Krishna Ma'am, SPD Rahul Dwivedi sir, and our Commissioner Honorable Vishal Solanki sir, and Director Honorable MD Singh sir. We are planning for that Nipun Bharat. जैसा कि निपुण भारत में अभी मिस्टर सौरभ हैज प्रेजेंटेड अबाउट दिस निपुण भारत, और इसमें जैसा कहा है कि नेशनल लेवल से विलेज तक जो एक 5 लेवल पे जो हमारा जो स्टीयरिंग कमेटी और पीएमयू है, प्रोग्राम मैनेजर यूनिट, ऐसा एससीईआरटी या एसपीडी के ऑफिस में एमपीएसपी और एससीईआरटी इज playing important role to implement this. And in Nipun Bharat only, they have stated responsibilities and roles of all stakeholders. So डिस्ट्रिक्ट को क्या करना है, स्टेट को क्या करना है, और ब्लॉक लेवल पे क्या करना है, और हर एक का जो कंट्रीब्यूशन है इसमें वो यहाँ बहुत अच्छी तरह से स्टेट किया है. और टीचर कैपेसिटी बिल्डिंग, अभी जो कहा गया कि टीचर को पढ़ाना चाहिए, कैसा रीडिंग करना चाहिए बच्चों ने, ये पढ़ाना बहुत जरूरी है, जैसा मुझे लगता है शायद बीना मैम ने कहा या नितिन सर ने. तो इसके लिए टीचर कैपेसिटी बिल्डिंग जो है वो बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट है. और जस्ट यस्टरडे ऑनरेबल पीएम हैज लॉन्च द निष्ठा 3.0 फॉर दैट FLN. So on Diksha, on Nishta online platform, there are 12 modules for teacher capacity building. So our teachers are going to take this training on Nishta, and as well as TLM जो है टीचिंग लर्निंग मटेरियल्स, जैसा कि पहले प्रेजेंटेशन में दिखाया था, उसके बारे में वर्कबुक, वर्कशीट्स या टीचर गाइड बुक, ये जो लर्निंग आउटकम्स है वो अगर हमें प्राप्त करना है तो इसके लिए क्या करना है, इसके लिए टीचर गाइड बुक हम बनाने जा रहे हैं. उसके साथ ही जो चार्ट्स और पोस्टर्स है हर एक स्कूल में हम भेजेंगे कि ये जो लर्निंग आउटकम्स है ग्रेड वाइज 1 to 3 तक मैथ्स और लैंग्वेज के, इसके चार्ट्स और पोस्टर्स बनाकर हर एक स्कूल में जाएंगे, ऐसा प्लानिंग है. ये जो है FLN वो साथ ही साथ समग्र शिक्षा और उसके साथ ही स्टार्स प्रोजेक्ट जो है स्पॉन्सर्ड बाय वर्ल्ड बैंक, उसके जरिए भी हम इसका जो कुछ भी कंपोनेंट्स है उसके जरिए भी हम बना रहे हैं. आखिर हर एक बच्चा, ये जो हमारे निपुण भारत के जो लक्ष्य है, वो जो गोल्स है, और 3 इम्पोर्टेंट गोल जो है वो चिल्ड्रन मेंटेन गुड हेल्थ एंड वेल बीइंग, 3 मेन इंपॉर्टेंट गोल, और इसके बीच में चिल्ड्रन बिकम इफेक्टिव कम्युनिकेटर एंड चिल्ड्रन बिकम इवॉल्व लर्नर्स। ये 3 इंपॉर्टेंट गोल्स है। उसके गोल, ये इस गोल के जो भी आगे में जो लर्निंग आउटकम्स है, वो लर्निंग आउटकम्स हमें हासिल करने के लिए ये 3 इंपॉर्टेंट गोल्स हमें देखना है। वैसे तो इसके पहले भी महाराष्ट्र स्टेट हैज इम्प्लीमेंटेड सो मेनी प्रोग्राम्स फॉर दिस, लाइक आनंददायी वाचन कार्ड, प्रारंभिक भाषा विकास, समझपूर्वक भाषा विकास, और इसके जरिए जो मैथ्स और भाषा की बॉक्सेस है, जो पेटी है, अध्ययन पेटी, वो भी हर एक स्कूल में दी गई है। ऐसे तो इस लिटरेसी और न्यूमरेसी के लिए बहुत सारे प्रयत्न, बहुत सारे कोशिश स्टेट ने किए हैं, लेकिन अब भी करने जा रहे हैं, क्योंकि इस कोविड सिचुएशन में तो बहुत डिफिकल्टीज आ रही है। जैसे कि बीना मैम ने बहुत सारे चैलेंजेस प्रेजेंट किए अभी, तो सेम सिचुएशन अभी है कि जैसा APO Ajim Premji Foundation also stated that by his survey, so many children have lost ability of reading and writing in this pandemic situation. So we have to try for these children, and Maharashtra has taking so many initiatives, though it's have some limitations, but we are doing like Abhyas Mala, Swadhyay, गोष्टींचा शनिवार, वाचन विकास, ये जो प्रोग्राम्स है वो तो हम कर रहे हैं, फिर भी 100% बच्चों तक रीच करने में बहुत सारी कठिनाई आ रही है, और उसमें ड्रॉप आउट चिल्ड्रन और आउट ऑफ स्कूल चिल्ड्रन, दिस प्रॉब्लम्स आर सो मच। बट इन महाराष्ट्र बाल रक्षक चळवळ is working very nicely according to GR 9 January 2017, जल शैक्षणिक प्रजा शैक्षणिक महाराष्ट्र का जो GR है, उसके अनुसार जो बाल रक्षक है all are working so nicely and innovatively, and not only in system, some are out of education system also, like Mithu Andare, who is bus conductor, Sangeeta Dhole Patil, who is police constable, Rani Khedikar, who is social worker. So these all are working for this out of school children, sugarcane workers, in Pune district, Someshwar Nagar sugarcane factory. Then we are working with Tata Trust. All these are, and one important thing that we are also working on one Bal Rakshak online app, जिसके जरिए हम इन बच्चों के तक पहुंच सके और हर एक बच्चा स्कूल में आए, स्कूल में एनरोल हो, इसके लिए गवर्नमेंट ट्राई कर रहा है, कोशिश कर रहा है।
राइट, थैंक यू सो मच मैम। काफी कॉम्प्रिहेंसिवली आपने बताया कि बहुत सारी चीजें जो एफर्ट्स लिए गए हैं सरकार के साथ और अभी और भी लेने वाला है, बट जो आई थिंक इंक्लूसिव की बात किया था आपने, आई थिंक आई वांट टू गेट बीना इन हियर, बिकॉज बीना आई थिंक मैडम ने भी बोला है, आफ्टर मैडम ने शी स्पोक अबाउट इंक्लूसिव वगैरह और इश्यूज जो है, स्पेशली उस तोड़ कामगार जो बोलते हैं, शुगर केन वर्कर्स हो गए महाराष्ट्र के अंदर, ट्राइबल पॉकेट्स जो आपने मेंशन किया है। सो एंड टू द पॉइंट ऑफ रोल ऑफ कम्युनिटीज एंड पेरेंट्स, जो आप बोल रहे थे, आई थिंक 2-3 लोगों ने भी, नितिन ने भी मेंशन किया था कि हाउ कैन वी involve parents in promoting foundational learning, especially literacy. So if you can shed a couple of minutes, if you can share around that, like what do you think is the role of parents and communities going forward?
Yeah, so first of all, I think the language that is spoken at home should be welcomed right from the pre-primary stage.
Correct.
And that is where actually the children and the parents start feeling a sense of alienation as far as language is concerned. And then I think the assimilation of the language spoken at home to the language in a school, the transition should actually become more easy if I think there is participation of parents along with the teachers having the capacity building to see how to make that transition possible. So if we feel, first of all, that no language is small or big, just that we need to learn this language because it's the language of medium of instruction, if that concept is accepted through, I mean, within your heart, within yourself, I think the assimilation itself will become easy. So one thing is, what is your approach towards language? And then you go towards the skills and the trainings related to language. So somewhere, even within our society in general, people are hesitating to speak their own language. And so even on the macro scale, I think there has to be a higher tolerance and acceptability of the diversity and vibrancy that languages can get. So I feel that if the parents feel a sense of being assimilated and being welcomed in school, the transaction between the child and the parent and the teacher will get enhanced. There are surely siblings in the house. So for families where you have got the first generation learners, probably the sibling is a good entry point, as a bridge between the child and the parent and the teacher. So I feel, first of all, it starts with the approach and the values, that you uphold are important. And then you move on to, we consult Mrs. Kurian quite a few times. So one of the things was the vocabulary of the child who is speaking certain words at home and then get the same in school. That also can, like a small vocabulary book or whatever. We haven't come across, apart from very small pilots that have happened, where it becomes kind of a rubric in each preschool or a primary school, where the teacher is acquainted with this vocabulary. So probably some very real and very solid, simple work also needs to be done at the grassroots to make this transition possible.
Correct.
I'm sure Mrs. Kurian also wants to add something to that.
No, I was about to just stagger, Beena. Lekin aapne काफी अच्छा point बोला, because this whole aspect around, first of all, the idea of literacy is because it has to be in home language, because that's the language जो बच्चा हर दिन रात सुनते रहता है घर पे. So I think talking about that, education now is no more a school issue, because I think school closures इतने ज़्यादा हो गए हैं. Education problem a community issue ho gaya hai. So I think it's a part of, now I think it needs to be solved by a community than a school in itself. So coming back to this question, Zakia ma'am, just to tag you and get your inputs around the approach and values, and you also mentioned about the risks in teaching literacy. If you want to shed some light, if you can shed some light around these points, just what is our approach and values around literacy should be, and what are some of the risks? And you're on mute, ma'am.
Okay, so firstly, just to continue from where Beena left off, because that is important, that I think we must realize, which I'm sure, of course, all the organizations working in this space, but even as civil society and others, funders, etc., that this home language, school language, the present data, 2015 was the last, which I'm sure all of you also have the state of the young child in India, the volume that came out just last year. Okay, very, very thorough. And this data is that pre-primary entrants, almost 50% of the entire population of pre-primary entrants do not speak the same language as the language of instruction, and that the primary entry, almost 40%, of course, you see it reduces a little, 40% do not. So it's a massive issue, and the data should guide us. And in answer also to one of the things that Beena raised, which is that, yes, there are pilots that are going on, which have to do, and very good ones. Recently, I came across Room to Read's work in Rajasthan for just this kind of multilingualism within the schools and the kind of publications that they're going in for, et cetera, et cetera. So it is good for all of us to study those models and then see how this gets scaled, And Madhukar, to come to your other broader question, which I had sort of flagged as what are the risks? Okay, here too, there's some data that we must take cognizance of, which is that if we're talking about early literacy and how it gets developed and the pedagogies, we have to think about where it all first starts, which is in the minds of little children, the ability to understand, yes, which is all this information from neuroscience. Now, I find that in Nipun Bharat document that the Anganwadi center, the data says that 40%, okay, are in Anganwadi centers of our 3 to 5 year olds, under 6 year olds, in fact. They are in Anganwadis. But Nipun Bharat, because it's Department of Education, and the usual sort of silos that exist, does not talk about what we are going to do about the fact that 40% of these children are in Anganwadis, okay?
Right.
Now, what about the Balvatika? Where will this transition happen? Will they get into the primary school Balvatikas? Will they have standalone Balvatikas? Now, I belong to a network called Alliance for the Right to Early Childhood Education, and we have been asking the ministry this question over and over again, but we have not got an answer, right? Now, the NEP talks about 4 models of preschool education. 4 models. There's the standalone Anganwadi for all up to 6 before school entry. There's the co-located Anganwadis, which are in primary school premises. There are the pre-primary sections of primary schools. I'm sure Dr. Aute will bear me out here. And then there are, of course, all the private players, you know. Now, and the document talks a lot about planning, which is really very good and very heartening. But how do you plan without having data as to who is where? Who do you plan for? Okay,
Right.
so this is one of the risks, but I'm sure Central Square Foundation and other large players, maybe even like LFE, etc., are taking up this issue. I'm just flagging it, that mapping, and UNICEF also, we've been trying to see whether some such really authentic survey can be done. Okay, that is, you know, one thing about this, what Nipun Bharat. As far as the Lakshya, the goals and the objectives of the Balvatika and so on, they're quite sound. It's except, again, the question of where does it all start and the oral language which is talked about, but when it actually comes to the objective, the learning outcomes, LOs, as they've been saying, oral language, there's a pretty perfunctory sort of thing for oral language. And it is a known fact that it's mastery of that hugely influences literacy learning. The birth to 3, as I said, which is probably an even bigger influence.
Correct.
Learning begins at birth, and the stimulation of the mind and so on. That, of course, is, you know, left out. And if you come to capacity building and the Nishta, which is the 7-day, you know, training programs,
yeah,
I'm sure they're going to be well worked out by NCRT. But again, what do you do with the Anganwadi workers? Okay, and these 40%. So that is also another large piece that has to be addressed.
Got it. Thank you so much, Zakia ma'am, for giving in that perspective, because I think one has to be very clear of where we want to sort of focus on literacy, and given the whole continuum, 0 to 9 definitely does make sense. So quickly, I think bringing in Nitin again, just to get a sense of, because you did speak about some of the monitoring elements, like you're able to see data, you're able to see the progress. How is that sort of, again, like there's one, because I think a product in itself is oriented directly towards the child. But given some of these challenges and the school system, we just cannot talk about school system without teachers and parents being involved. So what are, again, some of the things that, say you are experimenting with your partner organizations to see how can you leverage the existing communities, the teachers, the school systems to be able to, you know, promote literacy?
Yeah. So I think that has been sort of one of the things that we focus on a lot, right? Aside from the product being effective, right? It is not enough to have a product that is effective if it is used, right? You have to have the product get out there and be actually used, right? And there are multiple steps. I mean, as I say, I mean, when I talk to our team and how we think about it, see, there are multiple hills I have to climb before I even stand a chance that technology might be able to help, right? The first hill to climb is the general recognition amongst our parents and in our community that reading is important, right? Reading is foundational for learning. We are not a society that is known for reading. We don't have a habit of reading, right? Despite our illustrious past and everything, but that is where we are. The second is then you have to kind of get the parent to kind of realize that, hey, maybe a phone can be used to help your child practice reading, especially if you, as we talked about, look, the limitation is many places, and where we did all our studies, where in the villages we went to, there was not a written word anywhere other than the school textbook, right? And right. So right, how do you get the parent to realize that the phone can be a means to have reading practice done? And then the third thing is, how do you get them to, even once they realize it, actually give it to the child on a regular basis, right? Then Jake, I get my chance in front of the child, and then I have to convince the child that it is better than playing PUBG, right? That it is more fun for you to start reading here, right? And earn stars or whatever you have to do, right? So in all of that, the role of the teacher, the role of the community, the role of the volunteers has been super critical for us, right? So we tried, as I said, multiple models. In some models, we had some of our people go door to door and talk to parents about the value of it. They're very often met with skepticism. कि आप क्यों आए हो? आपको मेरा phone का access क्यों चाहिए? आप इसमें से data चुरा लोगे, right? And things like that, right? So that is where, if the message comes from the teacher or from the school, right? For example, then a lot of those factors disappear. Right. Then similarly, when the people who are talking and about this, if you can actually make and this is established practice in all work on the ground in the field level, where we got in the village 2 or 3 youth to own up and become volunteers, right? And create some momentum around this, awareness around this, and actually do some, like in the evenings, they would bring children together and sit in one place and read together, right? Where it is more than just reading individually. There again, we saw greater adoption, greater stickiness, greater impact out of it, right? Another feedback we got from which we are working on from teachers is, for example, especially during COVID times, we're meeting and all this thing is not possible. Is it possible to create sort of virtual reading groups where the teacher can see who's been reading much, and they can then encourage them to read more or less, right? For example, and that's something that we are building into the product. Another method that we experimented with is, like, it's not just, hey, it's not a message that you have to open the app and use it, right? In UP, for example, and in Gujarat, we are ingesting the state text books also, in addition to all the children's stories that we have from Storyweaver and Global Digital Library. If we can align some of the text to the school curriculum, then that creates additional incentive for teachers to be engaged, and it gives the good. It makes the hybrid learning come alive, right? It is not just in school, but you can follow up in the home as well, right? Finally, another model that we're experimenting with is here. I mean, another partner we work closely with is Convigenius, right, which is in a lot of states, and they have been experimenting a lot with WhatsApp over the pandemic scenario. If on a regular basis, parents could get just a simple link in WhatsApp, oh, this is the story for this week, right? And you click on it and you directly get taken there and you read it with the children there, right? So in all these things, wherever we can engage teachers, engage parents, right? It gives us a better chance of having our children practice more, right? And we also want to, and once this habit starts, once the child starts reading, I think it's amazing to see the transformation, right? It's amazing to see their confidence that they develop. Suddenly a whole world opens for them. And then they can start reading more offline. They don't have to always just depend on read along. Read along is a means to get them to a place where they become Nipun children and Saksham children. And then after that, they can engage with the world.
Got it. Right? Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much, Nitin, for elaborately sharing that. I think काफी अच्छे examples दिया आपने, just to see how you're sort of involving different stakeholders. But we're going to open up questions. I think काफी सारे 2-3 सवाल भी आ रहे हैं, Q&A पे भी आ रहे हैं. तो और सवाल लेने से पहले very quickly, I think आवटे मैडम एक मतलब इनोवेशंस के तौर पे आई थिंक काफी ज्यादा इनोवेशंस भी हो रहे हैं. जैसे नांदेड़ जिला से बात हो रही थी, आई बाबांची शाला, ऐसा एक काफी इनोवेटिव आइडिया था. तो ऐसे 1-2 इनोवेशंस के बारे में आप बोल सकते हो जहाँ पे पेरेंट्स हो या शिक्षक हो प्रमोट कर रहे हैं. एफएलएन नहीं भी है, बट आई थिंक फाउंडेशनल लर्निंग प्रिपेयर कर रहे हैं. आप अगर शेयर कर सकते हो तो फिर हम प्रश्न की ओर बढ़ेंगे.
यस डेफिनेटली. वैसे तो पेरेंट का रोल इस कोविड पेंडेमिक सिचुएशन में बहुत ही अच्छा बढ़ रहा है, हमें मालूम है. एज मधुकर सेज, इन नांदेड़ देयर इज अ प्रोग्राम ऑफ आई बाबांची शाळा, and in Pune, that Pune district is running with LFE, Leadership for Equity, a Palak Mitra program.
Correct.
These two, both of these programs are on the aim of the parental engagement in the learning of child is very important nowadays. And so in this pandemic, what parents have to do, as well as MOE, Ministry of Education has published the guidelines for parents in this situation, and SCRT has just translated this document, and just we have to give this document to field level also.
Right.
So these innovations are very explanatory and very innovative, so that parents को पता चल रहा है कि हमें इस पेंडेमिक में क्या करना है. बच्चे अगर घर में हैं, स्कूल्स आर क्लोज्ड, तो जो एक स्ट्रेस आ रहा है पेरेंट्स और बच्चों के ऊपर भी, और पेरेंट्स को लग रहा है कि हमारे बच्चे नहीं सीख रहे हैं. तो ऐसा कुछ नहीं है, बच्चे घर में भी बहुत सीख रहे हैं. लेकिन हमें जो एक ट्रेडिशनल जो हमारी समझ है कि बच्चे सीखते हैं तो अगर स्कूल में जाए, किताब पढ़े, या उनका कुछ इवैल्यूएशन हो ट्रेडिशनल, तो ही बच्चे सीखते हैं, ऐसा नहीं है. तो स्टूडेंट्स या चिल्ड्रंस कैन लर्न इन होम आल्सो, इन होम एज अ लर्निंग स्पेस, उससे भी ज्यादा कम्युनिटी एज अ लर्निंग स्पेस, इस पे हम शिफ्ट हो रहे हैं. और कम्युनिटी में भी बच्चे कैसे सीख रहे हैं, ये भी बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट है. और साथ ही साथ आई वांट टू आंसर व्हिच झाकिया मैम हैज raised the question about आंगनवाड़ी वर्कर्स on निष्ठा मॉड्यूल जो है मैंने बताया. तो same question we have asked the NCERT, what we can do about आंगनवाड़ी workers. So they told that NCERT is going to introduce another separate module for Anganwadi workers. So we hope that it will do.
Okay. Hope that I think a lot of our teachers get, build capacity on FLN as well. But thank you all so much, panelists. I think काफी प्रश्न आए हुए हैं, so I think we'll take one by one. Saurabh, I just hope you're here because we have some interesting questions. So we thought we can take your opinion also.
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah.
Perfect. Thanks, Saurabh. So I think पहला प्रश्न शायद I think आपके लिए होगा, asked by Jahangir Ardeshir, and he asked, does the system have adequate budgets and capability to recruit and train the teachers and all that is aimed to be achieved? We read in the media that education budgets are not getting any better. How will things improve? Of course, this is a very existential question, but आपको बस आप कुछ share करना चाहते हो, then I'll obviously get out to madam, because I know this thing about budgets and everything is काफी हमेशा government के साथ है. But if you want to just share very quickly.
Yeah, no, obviously it's a fair question. We are not as well resourced as other countries. Obviously we are a developing country, so budgets are always a constraint. But despite that, there are 2 or 3 ways to look at it, right? If we talk about training budgets, COVID actually has a silver lining, right? We've trained so many teachers online, both via, Nishtha last year, Nishtha this year. Obviously, there are a lot of things to be said about the quality, how it can be improved, all of those things. But in terms of the reach and the cost, it's like much smaller. So if the courses can get better, there can be a better training needs analysis, all of those things, assessments after courses can happen, then Nishtha on Diksha can become, and all the online training programs that have happened can become, very effective. On the other hand, about, money for education, given our fiscal constraints, there is not much room, right? I mean, we take it from If you put it on education, it goes from health. If it goes from health, it goes from some other sector side. So there is a limited pie. But like say for example, a country like China or the US, like most kids are in public schools. In India, 40% children are in private schools also, which is also a substantial spend on education. So overall, the amount we are spending, either via the government or privately on education is not a small amount. It's probably closer to or 5% of GDP anyway. So yeah, I don't think budgets one cannot be changed too much. Second, I don't think they think they're okay. Third, we can be more efficient, like what's happened with technology.
Got it.
Yeah, I think definitely want to second Saurabh on that. I think that's where the role of technology can open up new windows for us, right? I mean, taking the simple example of Read Along partnership with UP, right, in their mission Prerna, right? We got more than 15 lakh installs of the app, right?
Right.
With practically zero additional expense. Like this was all a campaign run through the existing block officers and district officers, and it's all about messaging. It's a free app, right? And we can see the actual usage of that, and children are using it on a day-to-day basis, which otherwise would never have got to use.
Correct.
Right? The other big area, similarly, where technology can help is going to be in assessments. Right, because that is generally another big expense area for any such program, and the more we can bring that there, it helps. And then the third is obviously training, right? In COVID, so many of our teachers have gone to so many lengths to kind of upskill themselves. It happened out of necessity, but it has really been great to see the response and how they have taken it up, right? Without something like that, sometimes there is something good that comes out of a shock to a system like that, right? Everyone now, and when you speak to teachers now, they feel themselves so proud. I never thought I could create a video myself, right? But now I can, right? Yeah. So they are so much more digitally literate. They're so much more receptive to training and receptive to, and there is value of it, right? You don't have to travel. You don't have to take leave from your teaching and then go to and attend a training for 7 days once a year, because you can do it anytime, anywhere, sitting in your home.
Correct.
Right. So there are a lot. I think traditionally, whenever our budgets have been used in a particular way, but there is a huge opportunity to rethink that and be more efficient with training, with actual intervention, with actual assessment, right? The full feedback loop.
Absolutely. I think budgeting this over the last 2 years, I think has definitely changed the way even policymakers are looking at budgeting and, supporting education. One good, interesting, Beena, I want to pull you in for this question. Prapti Bhasin has asked a question, and obviously उनका प्रश्न ऐसा है कि smaller organizations है बहुत सारे remotest geographies में and not very technology able to begin with in terms of implementation, Nipun Bharat जैसे mission को, but how can they see it? The question is like the government primary schools in their area mainly single teacher schools, तो ये एक शिक्षक दो शिक्षक शाला बोलते हैं, महाराष्ट्र के अंदर भी बहुत सारे हैं, एंड ऑर्गेनाइजेशन नया है तो नो एग्जिस्टिंग कोलैबोरेशंस भी नहीं है डाइट्स के साथ, SCRTs के साथ. तो आई थिंक ऐसे बहुत सारी संस्थाएं जो बहुत छोटे लोकेशंस में बहुत बढ़िया काम कर रहे हैं, तो उनका व्हाट डू यू थिंक शुड बी देयर रोल, like how can they support the mission this big?
So first of all, I think like we all know, the development sector is really evolving, and I have learned from some mistakes probably which we have made previously. So learning from those mistakes, I think any external person going and working over there is not really sustainable, and we have made that mistake already. So let me accept that very honestly with you. So the best way to work around this is to work with the existing system in the villages where the organization wants to work. So they have channels like the school management committee. You also have got the PTA. So probably it will be a good way to start by approaching these existing kind of small groups which have been provided by the system. And probably what you all could look at is some help that you could get from any external organization, be it through the government resource person, or be it an organization which is already doing a lot of work in the chosen area. So like Mrs. Kurian also said, there are a lot of organizations doing good work. And I think more and more organizations also want to collaborate now. So the idea is to get best help from the best people in your domain, but work with the existing channels within the government.
Got it. Thanks so much, बीना आवटे मैम आपके लिए
Madhukar,
हाँ मैम बोलिए ना
to add this, I have to state one Vidyanjali portal is being implementing by national level for these NGOs and community participation. So इसमें जिस स्कूल को अगर जरूरत है जिसकी तो वो इस विद्यांजलि पे अपना एप्लीकेशन दे सकते हैं और जो कम्युनिटी पार्टिसिपेशन या एनजीओ या वॉलंटियर्स जिस कंपोनेंट में वो मदद कर सकते हैं तो वो वहाँ रजिस्टर कर सकते हैं तो ये काम शुरू है विद्यांजलि पे तो डिटेल्स आएंगे उसके तो ये भी काम करेगा ऐसा मुझे लगता है और NEP has also focused on this community participation.
Right, ma'am. Thank you so much for sharing that, ma'am. Sorry, Zaki, ma'am, you want to share something?
Yes, I want to ask actually that you see, with all I can say, and Nitin was saying that monitoring who is using how many are using the technology. It's really I'm very interested in what more technology can do, basically, which I don't know about. And also people like Saurabh working to scale, and yourself, Madhukar, working to scale, that if we say that 40% of the children are entering, almost 40%, entering class 1 with languages spoken which are other than the medium of instruction, is there some way of setting up, I think, a very significant research project which would arise out of, and Nipun Bharat, by the way, has a whole chapter on research, okay, and rightly so, that compared to those whose home language matches the medium of instruction and those whose home language is different, and not only different as a subaltern version, but structurally even different from the language of instruction, how long does it take to reach the Lakshya of class 3? There's bound to be that. I think that kind of data should inform, I mean, even ASAR, that is not, they don't have that data. And it is an enormously important data, I think, for us to understand what are the real challenges as far as this home language, school language business is concerned. But we have no longitudinal data of how long it takes them. Now, LLF, they're really working to some extent in this whole area. And then it also informs textbook development. It informs teacher resources, student learning, etc. I mean, resources even. So I wonder whether this can be taken up and whether technology can be used for this.
Yeah, I think so. But I think I'll leave it to Saurabh and Nitin to comment.
Yeah, no, Zaki, I think a very pertinent question, and I think in theory it definitely sounds like something that could be done. I mean, I think what you're pointing to, the missing thing here is a longitudinal view, right? Is creating a longitudinal view, and if technically, suppose there was a perfect world, and we know by the end of 25, 26, 27, you also would get data about which child started where and where did they end up and how many achieved the Lakshya. Then this analysis is about segmenting that children by, okay, how many of them were part of the cohort where the school language was the same as the home language versus not, right? I think I think one, you're rightly pointing out that maybe that is not even a question or a view of the data that people want to get there, but also you don't want to wait 5 years to get that. But equally, even getting longitudinal data would, I mean, it really will take 2 to 3 years to kind of establish this for fact, right? So happy to brainstorm with you separately in terms of how technology can help in assessments. And if there is some organization that would be willing to do this as sort of a test study or pilot, then how can that be supported?
Yeah, absolutely. I think very similar. I think we're sitting on a lot of data and trends that we're seeing from, especially if you're working closely with districts at scale with a significant number of children. I think Nitin's point, and Navte Madam also mentioned, we're working with Convigenius on Swadhyay initiative. So we roughly have about 3.54 million children, 35 to 40 lakh children's data from grade 1 to grade 10 across 25-30 weeks. So we should be able to see these trends once you do it for 2 years, 3 years in a row, the same child, how he or she is performing. it's an incredible data to sort of sit and do research on. So completely
One
agree.
of the biggest initiatives which is launched last week, in fact this week for Shikshak Parv, was NDIAR, which is the National Digital Architecture, and obviously it's the vision stage right now, but the vision is for like how UPI transformed the financial sector. This should transform education. The core idea is that there would be a registry of all the students and all the teachers, and all data points on learning outcome achievement would be collected periodically. And if there is a tag for home language, which should be fairly easy to put in there, at least the data would be available pretty soon. I have a feeling that this is going to be, this will take about 12 months for it to launch, but this is one of the largest initiatives which is happening in education right now.
Amazing. Thanks for sharing that, Saurabh. Avte ma'am, आपके लिए एक question है, specifically in terms of the promoting reading or literacy के लिए, is there a plan to set up libraries? और libraries का of course बहुत सारे initiatives हुए हैं, आपने room to read के बारे में भी mention किया है, but consciously ये जो मैं थोड़ा उस प्रश्न को broad करना चाहता हूँ कि teaching learning material जब हम बोलते हैं, how do we sort of promote it for literacy? How do you sort of ensure कि हर class हर बच्चे तक ये पहुँचे? So the role of libraries and TLM in literacy. So if you can just share something about that.
Yes. We are planning to develop reading books, and that graded wise reading books with the help of Room to Read. Room to Read has already developed these books, and in Nashik district, this program is already running there. They have made libraries for schools, and they have provided books of story books which are graded wise, as well as with UNICEF and Pratham books in Gadchiroli and Nandurbar, which are aspirational districts. So Vachan Vikas project is running there. And for all districts and all schools, we are developing for foundational literacy and numeracy, as already I said, that we are making workbooks and as well as teacher guidebooks, and these books will be in all languages. That means 7 or 8 languages. इन सभी भाषाओं में ये ट्रांसलेट होगा, ये डॉक्यूमेंट, ये बुक्स. ऐसा जो प्लानिंग है वो चल रहा है अभी, जैसा कि मराठी, इंग्लिश, उर्दू तो अभी एससीईआरटी में डिपार्टमेंट है ही, और जो अदर लैंग्वेजेस है उसमें भी हम काम कर रहे हैं. और वो ये जो वाचन विकास है वो वहाँ तो जो बोली भाषा है नंदुरबार और गढ़चिरौली, उस भाषा में भी वो ट्रांसलेट कर रहे हैं वहाँ. तो जैसा भी लैंग्वेज पे बहुत हम चर्चा कर रहे हैं कि होम लैंग्वेज एंड स्कूल लैंग्वेज, इसमें डिफरेंस होने के कारण जो प्रॉब्लम्स है, जो चैलेंजेस आते हैं बच्चे के लिए, तो वो ओवरकम करने के लिए ट्राई तो कर रहे हैं. और वैसे भी स्टेट हैज ऑलरेडी implemented so many initiatives like dictionary books या टेक्स्ट बुक भी उस भाषा में कर सकेंगे तो बहुत अच्छा है. कुछ टीचर ने भी ऐसा इंडिविजुअली किया है कि उस बोली भाषा में, उस डायलेक्ट्स में वो ट्रांसलेट किया है टेक्स्ट बुक. ऐसे so many programs are doing.
Right. Thank you, Apte ma'am. Zakia ma'am, maybe I think we are out of time, so I think one of the last questions to you is question asked by Shobha Joshi. How will promoting children at primary level, 1st to 8th, actually fulfill reading program? It's a genuine question. It's a challenge as per RT. We need to keep promoting children. So how will promoting children help it? Zakia ma'am, you're on mute.
It is certainly one of the big challenges. There's no question. But we have to keep in mind that there is quite a lot of research evidence that shows that not promoting children does not have a great motivational effect of getting them to learn better.
Correct.
And we must take notice of that. So what we have to be able to do is very strong programs of remedial education, spiraling of skills, even at the 4th and 5th standard level. In fact, one of the good things Nipun Bharat mentions is that those who do not achieve by class 3, that in 4th and 5th and 6th, they would get even more attention. Okay, and as such, I think this is what should be concentrated on, and actually train teachers, etc., to understand what remedial, it is not a drill and practice kind of thing, remedial education.
Correct.
The same things that have to do with how children learn to read have to be incorporated in it, you know. So I think RTE should definitely remain as is, because there's enough research evidence, global research evidence, that holding children back does not necessarily do the trick, okay? But one of the other really very, very good things in the Nipun Bharat document, and hopefully this will get implemented, maybe it's already being implemented by some of you, which is the mentoring level, okay?
Right.
The mentoring level, key resource persons, 8, I think it's 6 per 50 teachers.
Per
Okay.
block, yeah.
Now this
that's
is
6 people per
something,
block. Correct.
okay. So something that we've been talking about for so long, I mean, if that can become a reality, which is that every school gets this kind of resource of hands-on mentoring, which also takes care of things like remedial. But now the training of these KRPs, now there's the rub, so to speak,
Correct.
because it suggests, you see, mentors, because I know we've all used them in actual field level situations, right? And as Beena says, you've got to go with what is already there in that, and that teacher's skills and what she has learned, and yet have to give some hands-on. Now, hands-on means that you sit down on that dari and you demonstrate and you do all that, okay? So I'm not sure whether the categories of people who have been put down as being the KRPs are necessarily would be the most effective. I mean, you know, because they, first of all, have a lot on their hands, SCR people, diets, retired teachers, I don't think, because they have to know, they have to be able to participate in all the Nishta trainings, etc. You know, so I think that's the answer to the question.
Thank you. Thank you, Zakia ma'am. And we are almost at the close of this panel discussion. But again, I'm going to end it in a very typical way of a panel by asking each one of you, we're going to go around and share, if you had to share one recommendation. I mean, obviously promoting literacy is not just an India challenge, but I think a global challenge. But given our context, given where we are in terms of the situation, current situation, we have to promote reading and literacy among our children. Like there's no other way if we have to be a much better country. And if you had to give one recommendation in one single line, a recommendation to like a parent or a teacher on promoting literacy in wherever they are, what would that be? Beena, we can start off from you. It can be an action point. Sorry, I just want to mention it's a one simple actionable. Do this for so, and it can be any simple actionable that we want to recommend, so that we end this panel discussion with actionable for all the audience. Yeah.
So I get the least time to think. Nevertheless, I would say strategize hyper-local solutions alongside the FLN requirements.
Got it. Thank you. Nitin?
Sorry, yeah, I would have actually one for parent. If nothing else, read one news article with your child for 15 minutes a day.
Right.
Right. You don't need anything else for that. The schools don't need to be open or anything. And for definitely our partners in sort of the governments, it is like look at technology as your helper in this space. Right?
All right. Thank you, Nitin. Saurabh?
Yeah, I will, nudge folks to look at reopening schools, as much for the primary as for the secondary.
Yeah.
Because, data suggests that it's okay to take, because otherwise we're losing a lot. It will be difficult to recover if it takes too long.
Awesome. Thanks, Saurabh. Zakia ma'am? Ma'am, you're on mute.
Yeah. I mean, the way you framed it, then I would say something to the parent directly and something to the teacher directly. Yes.
Yeah.
So to the parent, interact playfully, verbally with your child, right? Keep track of her learning, all right? But do not push the pace and make her anxious. Okay, so that's one for the parent. And for the teacher, I think I would say every child, regardless of caste or class, has the ability to learn. So be open to implementing more effective pedagogies, teaching methods, and build upon them yourself.
Thank you, Zakia ma'am. And last, not the least, Aute ma'am, aapka recommendation to parent and a teacher.
I would tell to parents and as well as teachers, don't try to teach, dialogue, interact, and play with children.
Got it. Thank you, ma'am. So I think with what I'll end with what I think Zakia ma'am said, every child has the potential to learn, irrespective of any background of the child. We need to ensure that every child in the country is able to read and is literate. Thank you so much, panelists, all of you, for being here and also for engaging in this discussion patiently and answering the questions of the audience. So to close out, I think I'm going to just call in Bina.
Yeah. So thanks. Let me add my thank you on behalf of the Forbes Marshall Group and all of us over here. So it was a really heartening discussion. I feel if people are not satisfied and they have more questions and more thoughts on this, probably we are more successful because the topic will linger on and it will bother you to do something after this. So I'm very thankful to all the people, especially Madhukar. Actually, I know he would have been good to answer some of the questions, but taking on the role of the moderator, probably Madhukar restricted you on that. So thanks a lot for accepting to be the moderator and also suggesting people to have on the panel. I would like to thank Aute madam, in spite of, I know, really tough days and schedules ahead. She has given us a lot of time. Saurabh Chopra, thank you very much for sharing the Nipun mission in a very short and crisp manner. I'm sure a lot of people in the audience may now get intrigued to read it at length. Thanks a lot, Nitin. I think this Google Bolo app, I'm sure it's already, people are searching it and probably they'll look at approaching you later. So thank you very much. And last but not the least, I have to thank Zakia Kurian. She is actually a guide and a mentor to a lot of us in this field. And we really look forward to learning more from her. So thanks a lot, Mrs. Kurian, for being on the panel. There is a back-end team also of Forbes Marshall, but it would not be right to thank them, but just say that they have put together all of this in a very good way. So with deep gratitude, I thank all of you for participating in this panel, and especially with Forbes Marshall, the 75th year. We look forward to having many more programs for the larger audience. Thank you. Thank you all once again, and the audience also.
Thank you. Thanks, Bina.